The Sixers right there, they're fourth on the list, improving to 15-9 in this spot after last night's win over the Grizzlies, which is important for Philly as they have the hardest remaining schedule in the regular season the rest of the way. Sixers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, joining us now as his team gets ready for the Celtics tomorrow on ABC. Daryl, the second half of the regular season, the Sixers have the hardest schedule in the NBA. What do you think you're going to learn about your team in the last stretch to make you feel comfortable about this team in the postseason?
Well, obviously it's an intimidating schedule, by far the hardest actually when you take a step and look at it. We're excited for it because obviously the championship is our goal and we feel like this will be the right test. We won't be able to fool ourselves. If we're not doing well against this set of opponents, then we know we need to keep working, and we're going to keep working until we get to the playoffs.
You mentioned keep working. This team hasn't made it past the second round of the playoffs in over 2 decades. I know you weren't a part of all of those teams, but what's at stake here for Joel Embiid and James Harden and Doc Rivers and even yourself this postseason?
Yeah, I mean, our focus is on winning the title, so we're not really worried about which round we've gotten to. And I'm pretty confident that if we had made the conference finals and not, then everyone would just say, oh, they haven't made the finals. So, look, we got our work cut out for us, but we're focused on one thing.
Specifically with James Harden, he took a pay cut this offseason, and he could test the market as a free agent this offseason. How much would the success of this postseason and gelling with Embiid play a role on his future in staying in Philly?
I know he's just focused on this season and not the off season, but I know that he's focused on winning the championship. He's gonna be wherever he feels like he has the best chance. Obviously, his pairing with Embiid is very, very good, and we feel like it's a great pairing for the long term.
One hot button issue topic is load management around the league. How do you view load management as an executive?
I can tell you that for sure it is something that I would say is probably a little bit overrated. You know, like the science behind it is very limited. We're focused, we play a wider rotation to the regular season because we want to minimize injury. We want guys to get more opportunities. We often will sit guys on back-to-backs and things like that because we think it's the prudent thing. But in terms of like, you know, a guy playing exactly 37 minutes versus 33 minutes, we don't sweat that as much.
All right, you mentioned you're a science guy, an analytics guy. You're part of the leadership behind the MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, which takes place next weekend in Boston with some of the brightest minds in sports. When you look at the analytics and the numbers here, with the 2-time reigning MVP, that is Nikola Jokic, versus the runner-up in Joel Embiid, what data do you value, especially when there's an MVP discussion with the two centers?
Well, I think, look, MVP is obviously most valuable player. You can define that different ways. But for sure, defense has to be a big component. And I think when you look at the impact that Joel makes on both offense and defense, it adds up to him being the MVP. But in terms of like what helps you win the playoff, I think it's, you know, your ability to impact both ends at a very high level.
I mentioned the boom of analytics over the last decade. It plays now such a big role in sports. How do you separate the good and the bad data when everybody is in analytics?
The nice thing about basketball, it's a good combination of art and science. No one's really going to solve. It's too difficult. And I think knowing which things actually drive winning, which things drive winning in the playoffs, which players make the biggest difference, that's sort of the secret sauce. And, you know, I'm pretty happy because I think a lot of teams are going to use data poorly as much as, you know, they used to not use data at all.
One final question. I can't wait to hear this answer from you. Super teams, another hot topic. You put together something with James Harden, Joel Embiid, KD now in Phoenix. How do you view super teams around the league? Is that good or bad for the league?
I think to me it just is. Like, to win in this league, you need multiple very, very elite players. The history of the league is pretty much unequivocal on that, except for maybe 1 or 2 teams in the entire history of the NBA. So look, even if you have multiple teams with multiple superstars, a few of them aren't going to win, but that doesn't mean it was the wrong strategy to bring them together.
Daryl, we want to wish you the best of luck the rest of the regular season as well as the playoffs with the Sixers. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.